Hidden costs? What are those? Like, why do I have to worry about hidden costs when purchasing property? Why? Hello, hi my good people. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new and you are watching my videos for the first time, thank you. My name is Yolanda. This is Property Talk with Y'alls, where we just talk all things property and literally equip you guys with the right information to make the best property purchasing and property investment decisions. And of course, don't forget, learn from my mistakes as well. If you are returning, welcome back, or maybe I should say welcome back to me. Yes, I'm actually finally back, and without wasting any time, let's just get straight into this video. Now, in general, I don't know about you guys, but I don't like money leaving my bank account. Like, I don't, and I'm pretty sure some of you can relate to that, right? Or you feel the same way. But I also think it's even worse if this money that's leaving your bank account is money that wasn't part of the plan, right? It's an expense that just popped out of nowhere. Now that really hurts. I mean, yeah, no, that one really hurts. And when it comes to purchasing property, there's this buzzword that everyone talks about called hidden costs, or rather buzz term called hidden costs. And this is basically a widely used term, and it refers to the costs that you never see coming. But you know what I think? There's no such thing. There's no such thing as hidden costs, and they actually don't have to be hidden if you do your research properly, right? I mean, guys, if you are going to embark on such a huge journey of purchasing property, I hope that you will do all the due diligence and necessary research, and even more, just to make sure that you are prepared, right? You are ready, you are sure, and you are clear of all the processes and all the costs involved as well, right? So that you are ready essentially for all the financial obligations that will eventually come your way. And some of these will be upfront costs, and some of them will be continuous monthly costs. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the 4 biggest upfront costs involved in the process of purchasing property in South Africa, right? Now, as a rule of thumb, you should allow for between 8 and 10% of the purchase price of the property for all the other costs involved, which is what I'll talk about today. So for example, if you are purchasing a property and that property costs 500k, allow for about on average 50k, right, to cover all the upfront costs. And as I said, this is just a rule of thumb. It might be more, it might be less. Now, there are 4 main costs I want to cover today, and those are the deposit, the transfer fees, the transfer duties, and the bond registration costs. So let's start with the deposit. So the question that I get a lot from people, and what people really want to know, is, do I have to pay a deposit when purchasing a property? And the simple answer really, guys, is no. Like, you don't have to put down a deposit on the property you're purchasing, but however, there are a few benefits of having a deposit, right? So having a deposit basically demonstrates to the bank the commitment you have made towards purchasing this property, right? So basically the bank will be like, okay, this one is actually very serious about, buying this property. And what it does is that it increases your ability to be able to negotiate for a lower interest rate, which is what all of us want. And the reason for that is because the bank sees you of less of a risk, right? Since ultimately you will be borrowing less money from them. Now, please guys, whether you have a deposit or you don't have a deposit, you should always negotiate the interest rate, right? But having a deposit could work in your favor And on top of that, you could also save on the interest that you have to pay the bank, because essentially you will be borrowing a lower amount, which then means your monthly repayments will also be lower. So please, if you can, even though it's not a necessity, I would definitely advise that if you can, do save up for a deposit. Now, moving on to transfer fees. So that's the second cost for today. Transfer fees are only applicable if you are buying a property from someone else, right? So like another person who currently actually owns the property that you want to purchase. Now this money or transfer fees is money that you have to pay the transferring attorneys for the service of transferring the property from the previous owner into your name. This amount varies, and it basically varies just according to the purchase price of the property. But in the case of a new development, you don't have to pay any transfer fees. Why? Because this property that you're buying is a new property, right? It's not registered under anyone. You are basically buying this property directly from the developer. And in essence, you'll be the first person to own that property. I don't know if you guys, maybe you might have seen whenever they advertise in a new development, they will always have it written like in big and bold. And listen, I'm telling you, it's very hard to miss, right? It's the first thing you'll see when you go view a property in a new development, and it will say no transfer cost, or it will say zero transfer costs. Basically, they are referring to the transfer fees, and this is what they use to hook you into buying into a new development or a complex. And then moving on to the third cost, moving on to the third cost, this is the transfer duty. So what is the transfer duty? This is government tax. Yes, unfortunately, we have to pay tax for everything. This money is payable to SARS when the property is transferred from one owner to another. So in addition to paying the attorneys for facilitating the process for you, unfortunately, you also need to pay SARS as well. But there's always a but. Did you know that in South Africa, if the property you're purchasing is less than 1 million, then there's no transfer duties applicable, right? So you don't have to pay nothing to start. And in my case, when I bought my properties, both of them were less than 1 million, so I did not have to pay transfer duties. So let's just recap quickly. We have transfer costs. Those are made up of transfer fees and transfer duties. If you buy a property in a new development, no transfer fees are applicable. But if you buy a property that was previously owned by someone else, then you'll be liable to pay transfer fees, right? Very simple. However, if you buy a property in a new development that is less than 1 million, then basically you don't pay any transfer fees, and because it's less than 1 million, no transfer duties are applicable as well, right? And as I previously mentioned, this is what developers will use to lure us as first-time home buyers. Okay, ad break. This is a new development in Boksburg, so I'm just on their website. As you can see, it has a location, the price, ROI on your property investment, and then just a few pictures. And then as you guys can see right at the bottom, it says transfer and bond fees included, no transfer duty payable. And this is really what they use to hook first-time home buyers or first-time property investors. Basically, it means that whatever price you pay from for the property, you don't have to pay any additional transfer bond fees or transfer duty as well. Because ultimately, these are all there are all these costs that you don't have to pay, which might actually make the process more affordable for most people. The last cost I want to cover today is bond registration costs. Now, basically, this is the money that you pay the registering attorneys for the service of getting your bond registered over the property's title deed. Okay, like what does that actually mean? So basically, it's the service of registering your bond, i.e. your home loan, into your name. So first, the attorneys would have transferred the property from the previous owner to you, the new owner of a property, and now they basically have to register the bond at the deeds office, right? And this cost again will vary depending on the actual cost of the home loan. Now this cost, guys, obviously it's only applicable when you're buying that property through a home loan, right? If you are buying the property cash mullah, you have the money, then these costs will not be applicable to you. Yes, don't guys, ne? The reality is that if you don't plan for these additional costs when you go through this journey of purchasing a property, chances are you will either end up taking up a personal loan or maybe use a credit card, which then just makes the whole process of purchasing your property even more expensive, because those two options will attract a higher interest rate. Another route that some people normally take is they will basically approach the bank, ask them for a bond that is higher than the purchase price of the property. So your property, your home loan is 500k, you ask for a 550k bond, right? So that the additional money you ask for is used to cover all these costs I just mentioned. Now this option is a bit more affordable because you'll be paying a lower interest rate compared to maybe taking out a personal loan or a credit card. But again, the best way to prepare for these costs is actually to save up, take your time, do your research, save up, and have the money ready. Have enough money to cover all these costs up front. And this is why I always stress on my channel. Like I say this all the time, it's so important to take your time and do your research, guys. You can't just rush into buying a property. It doesn't work like that. Now there are obviously more costs to consider, but in this video I just decided to cover the top 4 costs that you guys need to consider. So yeah, I will be covering more costs, whether they're upfront or ongoing monthly costs, in my other video. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you very much. Please like the video, please leave a comment, and I always try to keep my videos short, to the point. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please do subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to follow me on Instagram, also Property Talk with Y'alls. And yeah, man, keep well, guys. Bye, and I'll see you in my next video.